is $50. The average of the peers was about 78. 5 of the 6 peer agencies in Florida already have fare capping. We saw that Lynx has among the highest fare box recovery of all of these agencies. I think it was the third highest. That, of course, was using data that's a couple years old now. What we've seen over the past 5 or so years is Lynx's fare box recovery has been steadily declining, which is true for all agencies, almost all agencies across the country. That's more because costs are increasing than because ridership is down. So that's the 3 slides on where we were in phase 1. I'm going to talk now about where we're proposing to go in phase 2. So we've looked at a lot of different types of potential changes to the fare policy, and we're going to be packaging groups of those changes into scenarios that we will analyze. So I'm going to talk now about some of the changes that we are and are not recommending for further study. So there's a few that we have looked at and we do not recommend for further study. Both zone distance-based fares as well as peak and off-peak pricing. After looking at that, we feel based on the services Lynx offers and just the size of your operation and the modes, neither of these really would add a lot of, they would introduce a lot of complexity both for riders and for the agency without commensurate benefits. In terms of fare free, we don't recommend further study of that because of the obvious financial implications of that, although it would be a nice benefit for riders. In terms of changes that we are recommending for further study, fare capping is one. We know that that has the potential for ridership growth as well as increased affordability, especially for your frequent riders. We do recommend looking at increasing pass prices, especially for that monthly pass, as well as the weekly and daily. We recommend exploring the use of reloadable fare cards as an alternative to cash. We do recommend implementing a fare on limo or exploring the implications of doing so rather, because we really did hear strong support among policymakers for that change. We also recommend looking at eliminating ticket paper products for paying fixed route fares. We heard from staff that's quite administratively burdensome to process and mail things out to people. And we think there's better ways to achieve the same objectives. We do recommend studying a slight increase to the transfer window. We found that 90 minutes isn't quite enough for some trips. So I think that would be benefit riders who are transferring and taking longer trips. And we do recommend studying the potential impact of providing city and county employee discounts. We think that could boost ridership, provide additional value to those employees and the local government funding partners, and would be relatively easy to implement. So bringing all of those things together, we have developed 2 scenarios for further analysis. Both of these would be compared to a kind of business as usual scenario to see what the net changes are. In both of these scenarios, we recommend including assumptions related to implementing a daily and monthly fare cap, making those updates to the transfer policy, and implementing new reloadable smart cards for paying your fares. All right, so our first scenario, basically in this scenario, we are not recommending any changes to the prices of fares, base fares, passes, apart from adding a $1 fare on the limo service. This scenario does not include any assumption related to new discounts. In this scenario, we would recommend, it basically includes the assumption of a faster phase out of paper fare products. And also would involve the introduction of fare boxes on access vehicles. And so we wouldn't be recommending removal of the paper options for paying those fares, but rather adding another way to pay those fares. In the second scenario is our more comprehensive update. In this scenario, we would assume, consider modest increases to the pass prices. So instead of $4.50, the daily cost would be $5. Weekly would be $20 instead of $16, and the monthly would be $60. So this would increase revenue, especially on that monthly cost, but still keep it relatively affordable compared to other agencies in the industry. We would also recommend, this scenario would assume rather a $2 fare on limo service. Those city and county employee discounts, we would study the impact of those. And then with more focus on those changes to the fares, allow a little more time for changes in terms of how people, would pay.
Let me ask you one question there.
Sure.
So the fare cap, is it the same amount as the daily pass or the monthly pass would be?
Exactly, yes, so it's a pass price and a fare cap, yes. So, you know, pending your feedback today, where we are headed with this project, the next step would be to proceed to detailed analysis to understand the impacts of these different scenarios. We would also be doing public outreach to really hear from riders in terms of what their feelings are on different ways of paying for fares. At that point, we would come back to all of you and share what we've learned so far and figure out a path forward. We are going to do a Title VI analysis on the preferred scenario as well as the implementation plan. Implementation, happy to take questions.
Commissioner Janer?
Yeah, I have a question on the cash and what you're saying, the reloadable fare card. So if that's a smart card, if people don't have a smartphone or they don't have a debit card, how are they gonna reload these cards?
Yeah, so you can, there's different ways, there are electronic ways to do it, but you can go to certain retail outlets and actually give in cash and they will reload your card for you.
So, or these are like the cards that we had for Sunrail that we tried to get rid of because they're very expensive to maintain? They're plastic, they look like a credit card?
Yes, those would be the reloadables.
I guess I would have to see what the benefit of that is compared to cash, because we're talking about people that a lot of times don't have access, they don't have a bank account, they don't have a smartphone, and you're giving them more of a struggle to use the system, because then now they have to go somewhere to buy a card because they don't have those methods of payments. Otherwise, they'd be downloading an app and tapping and purchasing their bus fares. So I guess I would have to see how that would look.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We do have, 49's Technologies is on our team. They're the technology experts, so they would be looking at what all the different ways that we could reload the card, so you can keep that in mind.
And the other thing is putting the fare boxes on the access links. I don't know how most people make their payment for access links now, so I guess I would like to have an understanding, because that's another group of individuals we don't want to put extra burden on, right? Because I know my grandfather, may he rest in peace, he used to use access links. We would make the payment for him. I don't remember how we did it, but we know that we couldn't give him like anything to do the payment. So for me, how would that work? How are people paying now? That type of thing. I'm very hesitant to see a change in somebody that already has so many challenges to make it potentially harder for them. It might not be, I just need to understand the process more. And then in terms of the pass increases, I mean, I know when we looked at the numbers at the oversight committee, we were very much in line, and we were really good in fare box recovery, which is surprising, right? I was surprised. So the monthly passes was the only place where I really saw an opportunity. I didn't think we had given the direction to look at daily passes or weekly passes, etc. I mean, it's up to the board. You know, whatever direction you want to go in terms of, we're just studying it and looking at it and see how it's gonna work out. I'm fine with the changes to the limo. I think that it's understandable in order to keep that service up and going. I believe that would probably be fair and necessary, but that's more a City of Orlando thing, in my opinion. But I just want us to remain very cognizant that there is a big part of our population that have challenges when they can't just, you know, take the couple of dollars they have in their pocket and hop on a bus. So I don't know how I feel about all these recommendations.
Secretary Fowler?
What's the percentage people that ride links using a pass of some sort versus single ride fare? Do we have that number off the top of our head, approximately?
I think about 45% of the fares are paid as an individual, single fare. So, yeah, right, so if you have a lot of riders who are paying $2 every single time, they might actually be paying more than the monthly pass.
Very good, thank you for that. It was my understanding, and I would certainly be in favor of looking at all of the fares and passes, modest increase, deferring the actual decision to actually seeing the results, but that was my understanding all along, that we were gonna look at raising fares and see where that led us, where that would make sense, how that would affect our customers, how that would affect the fare box recovery. So I would certainly be in support of looking at modest increases across the board for both the single ride fare as well as all the passes, and then we'll defer a decision about which one makes the most sense for this community once we see the results. So that, I was surprised to see that not necessarily listed as a item that was included or not included, was the single ride fare, but that would be my thought, Mr. Chairman, would be to add that to a scenario, whether that's an existing scenario or.
I don't know if you were in the meeting at the oversight, I cannot recall, but I believe that for the single fare prices, we were actually more expensive than a lot of the other people. And you know, in line in general, but an increase to the single, that $2 would put us way over the average as compared to our peers. So I think that's why we had said, we're gonna look for an increase to that single ride fare and perhaps look at the passes. Like, I thought it was just the monthly passes, daily, you know, whatever, with the price caps. I mean, being cognizant that when we see the results, we may actually decrease our revenue versus increase it, because if you do fare capping and all that, you might be surprised.
Absolutely.
My point is that increase to the daily fare was not something that was a recommendation. I mean, we could do whatever we want, it's the board. I wouldn't be supportive of looking for an increase in the single fare, because I did see the study results and we were in line, if not a little bit higher than most of our peers with that rate.
Yeah, I think it was, the fare average is $1.95 and you all were $2, so it's like a 2% difference.
Yeah, and if you looked at a lot of the agencies, were like higher than a lot of the agencies. I don't know if you have that slide at all that they could look at, because I feel like they're not disadvantaged because they didn't see that and I did, so I would like you guys to be able to see that.
Or give them a copy or something.
So yes, that presentation will share with the board. If I may, one thing, we're hearing other variables. They are scoped and in the contract for 3 full scenarios, so if there is some hybridization, we come back or more ideas follow up, we can certainly factor that as well.
So I appreciate the offer to send that back around, the comparisons. I do think averages are dangerous. So if the average is $1.98, that means someone was over $2. So I concur. I think we need to look at that as well, include that in, at least in the study, and then we can decide once it's looked at whether or not it's something we want to pursue or not. Of the 7 items that you are recommending to include in the study, 2 have a pro of increasing revenue and 2 have a con of decreasing revenue. How and I guess I should say, in what format will you be able to share with this board so that we can because there's, as you start to knit together all of these different options, we could come up with quite a monster. And we don't want to do that. I get that. Change is hard. We've seen that. So what is the way that you are proposing to take all of this data and share it with us so that we can make heads or tails of it and make sure that we're not doing things one way that are going to counteract another? Or how do we come out
on top on this, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, well, I'm happy to work with the staff to figure out the, most logical way to share it with you. It would be Excel-based modeling that we'd be doing. Driving factors in this type of modeling are always your assumptions. We don't have perfect information on if we change this, it's exactly 54% of riders will change their behavior to do this. So we have to, just come up with reasonable assumptions for some of these things, and we're happy to, share any and all information with you that you'd like and try to summarize it in a way that's comprehensible.
Two questions. On the monthly cap, how do you arrive at that? Not the amount, but that you have a rider that has reached that amount.
It requires an account-based fare payment method, which is one of the benefits of the reloadable cards. It can track how much you've spent across the time period. If you're just still paying in cash, which we are proposing to still allow people to do, you do not get to benefit from the fare capping.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is that on a monthly basis, the standard month, or not from the first ride till they reach it?
Yeah, I believe you do it based on the, the first time that you did it, and you get 30 days from that.
Oh, okay,
period,
so
I believe.
it could be in March and April, not just everything you wrote in March.
I believe so. I will confirm with our team and make sure that's the case.
Okay, and just from my Sunrail experience, do we know how much it costs to collect the fare box?
I do not have that, we have,
Well, just tell me that we're collecting more from the fare box. than
we are
we're paying
definitely
for it.
collecting more in the fare box than it is costing to collect it. I am certain of that.
Okay, and I think we ought to look at all the fare stuff and decide whether we want to implement that or not. So Commissioner will look at it, that doesn't mean we're gonna adopt it.
You could always adopt it with or without my support. You got the numbers there. I just don't think that I would be supportive of that at this time, but we can talk about that later.
Okay,
All right, do you feel like you have the direction that you need,
absolutely, yes, I do.
Ms. Hawkins?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, you have information items, you have monthly reports. Any further comment from board members? Then we will stand adjourned, and I'm sorry, the chairman had a 55-minute meeting and have delayed our Sunrail meeting by 25 minutes. Yeah. Okay, we stand adjourned. We'll convene the Sunrail meeting in 5 minutes.
Yes. Now I can get the Sunrail paper. All right, thank you, baby, thank you. Thank you. Now that
I'll talk to you. Musical chairs? Yes.
All right, take care. Travel safely.
Someone's like, hey, you. How are you? Crazy. Crazier than normal. All right, I guess.
warrants a lunch.
Yes.
It does. Please, I'm really unserious about that because I poured you coffee like all the time to bring and stuff because I've been like, look at this is what I have. This is your handiwork of all that, and I've been like pouring over it, and I feel like I'm going to lose my mind with some of it. So it'll be an interesting discussion today. And we've tried to streamline it and move ahead. So he kind of knows right now.
Question on that, has that study been released publicly? One of our folks is wanting to know if they can use it for transition study.
I'm almost positive it had to have been released.
So, but
Hi, hello, and also congratulations. I haven't seen you since June.
Gorgeous. Cute.
I didn't pick it up. So,
Babies.
The postpartum comeback is.
I mean, you don't lose that. You don't lose that.
I just don't want to have.
Well, I mean, it's been sent to me, and that's public, right?
Because once it goes in, it's part of the proposal, right?
Yeah.
As you can see, so I just want to be careful about if there's any sensitivity or anything.
That I know of. I mean, I feel like it's been out there. It's the 2022 is when it came out, right? The final one that I got. Like this is the one I have. Hold on. I have. Like all of these. Okay. So this is the one I've been using as the final document, and the one that the mayor has that he's read. Yes. Yes. Okay. So that's what we've been pulling from, but. Like some of the stuff that you'll see today, like the tablet, like the flow charts, I didn't see in here. Okay, are they on different? And maybe I missed them, but I was like looking from the other day, and I was like, they're not on Appendix B. They're not. Like I didn't see. Look at see. There's not one flow chart there, but that's where like Kevin Hirsch has pulled that flow chart, and I've seen that flow chart before. You know what I mean? Of like what kind of staff, exact staff, right? In the green, and then the blue, and then who's from like, and I just, it's not in the final.
Okay, if everybody will take their seats, we're gonna get ready to start in about 30 seconds. Well, the room has changed a little bit, not much. Welcome to the March 26th Sunrail Board of Directors meeting and Commission. Okay. Hey, Chrissy.
Yes.
My Sunrail thing says, welcome to the March 26th Sunrail Board meeting.
April 23rd.
Okay.
Sir.
All right, we're going to start all over. Welcome to the April 23rd Board of Directors meeting for Sunrail. Commissioner Janer, you want to lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Okay, we have no special announcements today. I'll take note that we have a quorum. Commissioner, our Mayor Diggins is not here, and Commissioner Johansson is sitting in for Commissioner Brown, so that gives us one. Approval of minutes from the March.
Motion to approve
Hold on, what's the actual?
for March 26th.
March 26th. March 26th, 2026 meeting, motion and second. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Joanne, are you signed up for this one?
Yes.
Come on up.
Good, good. Hi, I'm Joy Canellis. My address is 334 Claremont Avenue, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746, there. Yeah, we need 24 hours train service, including holidays, weekends, and nighttime weeks. So that way no one would be stranded like we did today. Thank you. And yes, I got my, Special Olympics of 45 years under my belt. Swimming, walking, and bowling. And tomorrow's my birthday, and I'll be 74. Yes,
Congratulations.
young. Thank you.
All right, happy birthday, Joanne.
Happy
birthday.
There.
You know what, since it's your birthday tomorrow, we're gonna hear some reports.
Yes,
How about
please
that?
do.
Let's go to TAC committee, Chrissy. You're up.
So, sir, it's a very short report because we did not have a TAC meeting during
Hey,
this
Joanne,
time.
happy birthday.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yes.
So there's no update, but hopefully next meeting. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
customer advisory committee, Luis.
Thank you, everyone. So Joanne, so you know, my birthday was on Tuesday, so we share the same week.
Happy
So
birthday, Louis.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Thank
birthday to
you.
all of us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Louis. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
And I'm going by
Thank you.
39. Don't hearsay, okay? 39
Okay,
years.
39, good.
Sorry about that, Mayor. The Customer Advisory Committee met on April 2nd. We had a quorum. It was a really good meeting. So as usual, we got our discussion items. So we got our agency updates from FDOT. We also have reports from Links and Boatran. And we also have a marketing update from Mr. Colbert, which you might be seeing today. We're very excited seeing the ridership numbers for March. It's definitely, and we know that with 4 gallons of gas, there's an incentive to actually take some milk. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
David, agency update?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. March was a strong month for Sunrail with 136,754 riders, our highest March in more than 5 years. So a big accomplishment. Our average daily ridership reached 6,216 riders, and that was helped by spring break and major events like the Winter Park Sidewalk Art Festival, which drew 11,725 riders that day. And we continue to see higher ridership on the late evening trains, especially on the Magic game nights, which exceeded 700 riders this month. So overall, we're seeing strong community engagement across the system. And our group ridership is up 39% this year. And in March, we had 18 group rides, or group events, with 1,428 riders, including our first 400 passenger group ride. That was a big one for the Sidewalk Art Festival. And we provided safety presentations to over 100 children and adults last month as well. And then again, our average daily ridership, as you can see on our graph, is exceeding our previous years, and that was the 6,216 riders. And our on-time performance for the month was at 88.64%. And that concludes my update. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, Mr. Secretary, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm good.
Thank you. Then we will have our partner updates, starting with Links.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the board. To provide a quick update on Links's connectivity, we saw some pretty significant increases at all stations, but some of this is due to how customers have moved around with the changes in Seminole County. We removed the effects of those. We were up 8% from March of 25 to March of 26. Next slide. On our Links feeder bus route for phase 2 on the south, many of these routes showed declines in ridership of varying degrees in the month of March compared to prior year. Some of that is, we've generally had a little bit of a decline, system-wide, year over year, and largely because March of '25 was one of our better months. So we have a fairly tough comparison now of some of these year over year. And then in the airport, we're carrying about 100 and a little over 100 people a day on our 3 routes from Sunrail to the airport. So that's about 8 to 10% of the ridership that we take to the airport every day. With that, I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Questions? Thank you very much. Sorry, Commissioner.
Would you mind going back a slide? So of the 1,071 people that were at the Altamont station, do we know how many of those were there because of the Superstop move and how many actually wound up getting on a Sunrail train?
So the vast majority of those are the Superstop move. So you can see October to December, when we were in the range of 149 to 150. That is most likely continuing in terms of bus to rail transfer, with the balance of that being the Superstop move. So buses 436 north and south to one another and Link 102, because that 1,000 person daily ridership is pretty consistent with what we want to solve for Park.
Oh.
Because that was the old location, obviously, of that train.
Right. So our hope one of our hopes in making that move is that by moving that Superstop from 1792, which was many, many miles away from the Sunrail station in Altamont, that we would pick up some Sunrail ridership and activity by co-locating those. So how will we know if there has been any net gain of riders for Sunrail by that move?
We will take a look at the 3 routes. We know the Sunrail transfers onto our vehicles. What we don't know is the transfers off of our vehicles, but we can at least get half of that equation and compare year over year on that for you by the next meeting.
That'd be great. If there's any way to suss out that data, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, we'll do what we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Botran, Bobby.
My rats.
Good afternoon, Bobby King, Transit Services Director for Volusia County. So the first slide you're looking at is our bus connection at the DeBerry Sunrail Station, and we're holding steady with some really good numbers again this last month. Next slide, please. And then our boat ride connectivity is for both stations, and again, continuing to see increases each month, primarily due to the only service we have at the DeLand station increasing steadily, going very well, I'm happy to say. And that's all the information I have for you today.
Okay, any questions for Bonnie? Thank you very much. We will move on to our discussion items. So we're going to have a follow-up on the transition report that Kaplan Hirsch has been working on. I feel like we've been working on this transition for 10 years or so, pretty easily. Okay, Stephanie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Hopefully, I can present a very brief, succinct, not 10-year summary to the Commission today of our recommendations coming out of the transition work session. Each of you on the Commission should have received a summary report of our recommendations coming out of that work session that detailed the recommendations we were making with respect to the governance structure of the CFCRC as it transitions from an advisory board to an operating entity. Those recommendations were with a view toward regulatory compliance, ensuring that overall legal compliance was achieved in best governance practices, leveraging our experience with other multi-jurisdictional transit operators. At a high level, we can touch on kind of where we started and where we ended up with final recommendations for that structure. So if we could go to the next slide. One of the inputs that we considered in making the recommendations in our summary report was the 2024 WSP report, which had a fairly robust organizational structure that was set forth as part of the operational provisions that would need to be made for the commission to become operational and transfer over essentially staffing to a third-party operator, and at the time, I believe, Lynx was designated as an option. The organizational structure on the slide right now comes directly from the WSP report, contains about 40 plus positions in blue that were potential third-party operator employees for a robust system operation, and then roughly 15 positions in green that were designated to potentially be contracted to third parties or held within the selected operator. Go to the next slide. Out of that very robust organizational chart, the WSP report identified roughly 9 core positions that would need to be new positions responsive to the transition in operations from FDOT to CFCRC. Again, with these positions potentially being housed at a third-party operator, and then leveraging that third-party operator's existing staff to cover about 1.5 full-time employee duties spread amongst the staff of that organization. Key here are the executive positions and the safety and security positions. From our perspective as reviewing this for legal compliance, those are the positions that federal regulators are going to look at to ensure that CFCRC is achieving core competencies. So we particularly focused on the top line executive staffing, which is 3, and the 2 safety and security positions in our review of the recommendations and a kind of robust governance structure that could meet legal and compliance recommendations. Go to the next slide. So out of that review, we proposed some structural adjustments to a very lean staffing organizational picture that could be mapped onto any transition and expanded or contracted as the CFCRC's needs evolve as it becomes an operator. And so the top kind of change in recommendations is to take those core executive positions that we mentioned, identified in blue on the organizational chart on the slide, and have them report directly to the board, with the other positions in green being contracted to a third-party operator, consultant. There are many options for those green positions, but really starting with that frontline executive staff, reporting directly to the board to give the board the core regulatory competencies that we believe FTA would want to see as it transitions over to being a rail operator, as well as to institute some very clear lines of governance for the board and the commission as a whole. We propose starting with the executive director and having that position be a priority for pursuing and onboarding, as that would be the top line executive leadership that could then propose recommendations for additional downline staffing and any adjustments from an operational perspective that would be useful to this proposed structure. There are also key pieces here that, depending on candidates for these roles, could be consolidated, given a certain skill set of a potential employee that would fulfill those roles. We did some initial validation of how this structure could be implemented to ensure that it was a practical solution and not just a legal solution that we were proposing for the commission. More vetting, we will flag, would need to be done from an administrative perspective if and when the commission decides to pursue this staffing structure. There are, core sort of operational practical realities that come into play with the direct staffing that would need to be aligned. But overall, we looked at the option of having these top-line executive staffs that would support the commission be cited in the local partners. There were some challenges with that. We considered a few other options, but ultimately came down to a secondary recommendation of considering using a PEO or professional employer organization to initially house the top-line executive staffing as we work through transition. That recommendation was validated with some of the jurisdictions that have done that sort of a outside hiring path in the past for executives, and it was noted to work well. So we included that in our recommendations as well. I'll stop there and see if there are any questions that we would be happy to answer.
Questions? Looks like you're going to get off pretty lightly. Do we have the ability to at least the ones that are working directly for the board to enter into the Florida retirement system.
No, and that's the challenge at present. I think we would need to build out, one, we just don't have the administrative capacity at this point to consider and administer that. And so if they were placed in a third party, a PEO, there would be some gaps to bridge there. And I would defer to the recommendations of HR staffing, because again, I'm looking at this from a legal perspective, but I think that was one of the core challenges that we were trying to overcome, was what that benefits package could look like if it could include FRS. And so there's potential, if we build out the CFCRC, to have those executives participate in FRS. But right now, because we don't have that administrative infrastructure, there's really no way to access it. So to clarify what I'm saying.
Yeah, it just kind of widens the pool of
That's
potential employees when you have that opportunity.
That's correct, yeah. And I think we could have that opportunity at some point, but because, again, of the lack of infrastructure for administering FRS, we wouldn't have it in this initial scenario.
Okay. Commissioner Lockhart.
Doesn't mean that we wouldn't be able to provide benefits that would include retirement. It would just be access to the FRS system, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, everybody good?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you one more shot. Secretary, do you have anything before we close out?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then any board comments? All right, we'll stand adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you for watching, everyone. This is Joanne Canellis, the viewer, out.